On September 17, 1970, Jimi Hendrix spent the evening with his girlfriend Monica Dannemann at the Samarkand Hotel in London. They drank wine, talked, and stayed up late. Reportedly, he took a high dose of sleeping pills, which were not prescribed to him and very strong. Half a pill was the usual dose, but he took 9. The next morning, Dannemann said she found Hendrix unresponsive and called for help around 11:18 a.m. An ambulance arrived shortly thereafter, but by the time he reached St. Mary Abbott's Hospital, Jimi Hendrix was declared dead at 12:45 p.m. It appeared that Hendrix was just the latest celebrity to join the infamous 27 Club, a collection of musicians who died tragically young at the age of 27. But what if Hendrix's death wasn't accidental and he was actually murdered for nefarious reasons? Well, that's the claim made by journalist John Potash after years of investigation into recently declassified documents and first-hand testimony. And Jimi wasn't the only one. They were young, iconic, and changing the world until they all died under mysterious circumstances. Jimi Hendrix, John Lennon, Kurt Cobain, Tupac Shakur, some were 27, some weren't, but their deaths were not just random. According to Potash, they were part of a deliberate effort by intelligence agencies to neutralize cultural revolutionaries. And this isn't just a conspiracy theory. It's based on declassified documents, first-hand testimony, and years of investigation. The 27 Club refers to a group of famous musicians and artists who all died tragically young at the age of 27, often under mysterious circumstances, drug overdoses, suicides, and unsolved murders. Mainstream culture says it's the curse of fame. But could it be something darker? In his books, Drugs as Weapons Against Us and the FBI War on Tupac Shakur, John Potash suggests that U.S. intelligence agencies have systematically targeted politically influential artists, especially those who could shift public opinion. The evidence he has uncovered is deep and disturbing. Tupac Shakur was more than a rapper. He was a revolutionary in the making. By 25, he was a multi-platinum artist, poet, actor, and political thinker. The son of a Black Panther, Tupac grew up steeped in activism, and he was using his platform to call for unity, resistance, and revolution. According to Potash, this made him a prime target for intelligence agencies. Tupac's FBI file was massive. He was under surveillance most of his life. But it wasn't just because of his lyrics. It was because he was doing many things that threatened the power structure. He also supported several radical leftist political movements and was planning to create a new youth-led political party. Then in 1996, he was gunned down in Las Vegas after attending a Mike Tyson fight. There was an altercation in the MGM Grand lobby with a known gang member. Then later, Tupac and Death Row Records CEO Suge Knight were driving to a club in Suge's black BMW. While stopped at a red light, a white Cadillac pulled up next to them on the passenger side and fired multiple shots in the car, killing Tupac while one bullet grazed Suge. The case remains unsolved to this day. Potash believes Tupac was assassinated in a state-sanctioned operation, not killed by the East Coast-West Coast rap beef, and the chaos around his death was used to bury the truth. You see, Death Row Records, the label that signed Tupac, was not just an entertainment company, but a front or tool for intelligence operations. He believes that the label's CEO, Suge Knight, was used or manipulated by covert forces to control and monitor politically influential artists, particularly Tupac. The label had a history of business in the drug and weapons trade, and was basically allowed to operate freely by the Los Angeles Police Department. Detective Russell Poole found through his investigation that several members of the LAPD were actually working within Death Row as facilitators and covert operators. Suspiciously, Poole died in 2015 in the midst of his investigation while delivering new evidence to the Los Angeles Police Department. He was only 58 and reportedly in good health. This type of infiltration is common practice in the history of U.S. intelligence agencies like the FBI, CIA, and local police, disrupting black activist movements through COINTELPRO-style tactics. In 1990, journalist Gary Webb uncovered evidence of the LAPD working with gang members and intelligence operatives to traffic drugs and weapons. This money was used to fund covert black book operations and to keep them clandestine. Sadly, Webb also died young in the midst of his investigation. The official story is that he ended his life by shooting himself not once, but twice in the head. Potash argues that Death Row's violent, chaotic atmosphere was deliberately cultivated to entrap Tupac in legal trouble, isolate him from real political activism, and ultimately set him up for assassination. Kurt Cobain, the reluctant voice of a generation, died in 1994 at the age of 27, officially ruled a suicide. The official story is that Cobain skipped out of rehab and flew to his home in Seattle. He wrote a goodbye note and then, after injecting a massive dose of heroin, used a shotgun to end his life. However, newly discovered forensic evidence has proven that this sequence of events was impossible. A new investigation of the autopsy and post-mortem reports indicate that Cobain was actually dead of a heroin overdose before the gunshot wound to his head. In addition, there are multiple discrepancies found between the official story and the facts. Cobain had 3 times the lethal dose of heroin in his system, enough to incapacitate him completely. The shotgun he allegedly used was too long to fire in the position he was found. The shotgun shell was ejected on the wrong side of the gun, indicating that the gun was manipulated after he died. In addition, the shotgun used does not automatically eject the shell after a single shot. It needs to be manually ejected. Handwriting analysis has also found that Kurt Cobain did not write a portion of his alleged suicide note. The first portion of the note reads like a farewell to the music industry, while the end has a different tone and structure to it. Furthermore, a new witness has come forward saying he was present the night Kurt died, and has testified that Cobain's death was due to foul play. Cobain was reportedly quitting the music industry and planning to speak out about corruption and abuse within it. In addition, he had reached out to his lawyer and was planning to divorce his wife, Courtney Love. Many people stood to lose a lot of money if Cobain decided to quit the music industry and get a divorce. Most notably his wife, Courtney Love. Unsurprisingly, Courtney Love also has ties to intelligence agencies and may have been part of the CIA's infamous MK Ultra program at a very young age. She claims to have been part of psychotherapy sessions and provided mind-altering drugs at a shockingly young age. Interestingly, Kurt Cobain was not a habitual heroin user prior to becoming involved with Courtney. Did she infiltrate his life at the right time to subdue and control him using opiates? And then when he finally started to escape her grip, she had no choice but to eliminate him? It wouldn't have been the first time that this happened, and there's literally millions of reasons she would have been motivated. Plus, even her own father, Hank Harrison, thought she did it. Kurt was the voice of anti-corporate, anti-authoritarian rebellion, but once he started looking to escape the machine silenced him. Jimi Hendrix, one of the most revolutionary and creative guitarists in music history, died in 1970 at, you guessed it, the age 27. The official story is accidental death due to barbiturate overdose, causing him to choke on his own vomit. But John Potash and other researchers point to glaring red flags. For one, no autopsy was ever performed. Also, his manager, Mike Jeffrey, was a former British intelligence agent and reportedly insured Hendrix for $2 million shortly before his death. Even more shocking, a former road manager, James Tappy Wright, claims Jeffrey admitted to murdering Hendrix by forcing wine and sleeping pills down his throat to stage the overdose. Now, this is just hearsay, but it does fit the pattern. Like Tupac and Kurt Cobain, Hendrix had started making radical political statements and was aligning himself with the Black Panthers and speaking out against the Vietnam War. Hendrix wasn't a casualty of rock and roll excess. He was eliminated because he was a threat. John Lennon wasn't in the 27 Club. He was 40 when he was gunned down in 1980, but we should probably place him in the same category, a threat to the establishment. Lennon was surveilled by the FBI and CIA for years, and declassified documents confirm this. Like Hendrix and Tupac, Lennon funded and supported radical anti-war movements, was aligned with the Black Panthers, and was planning concerts to mobilize young voters against war and repression. Lennon was on the verge of re-entering political activism just before his death, after a brief period of retreat. His killer, Mark David Chapman, had a bizarre psychological profile. He traveled to Beirut, received training linked to World Vision, a group with CIA ties, and showed signs of psychological conditioning. Was Chapman a Manchurian candidate, a programmed assassin under the MK Ultra program? The evidence supports the possibility that Lennon's murder was not random, but strategic. And like Courtney Love, Lennon's wife Yoko Ono introduced her husband to heroin and kept him supplied and docile for a long time, until he wasn't. Kurt Cobain, Tupac Shakur, Jimi Hendrix, John Lennon, different genres, different eras, but the pattern is unmistakable. All were culturally influential, all spoke out against war, racism, and state oppression, all were under government surveillance, all died under suspicious, unresolved circumstances. So is the 27 Club just a coincidence of tragic artistry, or something darker? Declassified documents prove that the government has used drugs, psychological manipulation, and even assassination to suppress dissent. And the music industry was just one of its battlegrounds. This isn't about wild conspiracies. It's about connecting the dots, asking the hard questions, and examining the evidence the mainstream ignores. So what do you think? Do you think these deaths were random, or were these artists silenced for speaking too much truth? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and like and subscribe for more breakdowns of music, power, and hidden history. And if there's an idea you'd like me to research for a future video, leave that in the comments too. And if you want to dive deeper, check out John Potash's books Drugs as Weapons Against Us and the FBI War on Tupac Shakur and Black Leaders. Until next time, take care.